Hey guys, Dr. Morse, injury expert. So this is part 2. We just finished quarterbacks and running backs. There was already a ton of guys that are banged up. Next week we have the byes, so there's a lot of things to take into consideration, especially with the wide receivers, as it pertains to that. This will be a pretty big update, about 10 minutes or so, and the other one is about 10 minutes. Unfortunately, there's about 60, 65 guys that need to be updated, and we will do our best to fill you in. This will be the big update for the week. There are a couple games on Monday night, so we don't have practice reports for them yet, but it should give you an idea of who to sit and start at least on Thursday, and then as we turn over to Sunday, we will try to give you a little bit of an update on Friday if we can. Ja'Marr Chase popped up today with a shoulder injury, but he was limited in practice. I didn't see a shoulder injury. I didn't hear about a shoulder injury, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. This is probably an AC sprain, meaning he landed hard on his shoulder. Not overly concerned. The fact that he was able to practice limited capacity, quote unquote, even though it was probably a walkthrough 2 days after him suffering it, is a good sign. With that being said, it may restrict him a little bit. I expect him to play, but in general, it is something that it may bother him a little bit. We saw Higgins look really good, just the feet weren't in the right spot. He was getting the targets, so Higgins is a nice little buy low or bounce back guy. Yoshi Voss continued to look incredible. Kazeki looked pretty good, and Eric All looked pretty good, and Zach Moss was the guy. Chase Brown was fast, but he just didn't get a lot of volume. Rashee Rice popped up with an ankle injury today. Doesn't sound overly concerning, but it's on the report, so I like to report it. Not worried about him at all. He's going to continue to eat. He is a top 5 wide receiver going forward, in my opinion, at least at the current clip. I do think we see Kelsey bounce back this week. DeVonta Smith suffered an unfortunate concussion. I spoke with Coach JB about it the other day on his show, and it actually wasn't as dirty as I thought. It was just the nature of how he was trying to still escape, and another guy came to hit him. Nonetheless, he did not practice today, which is to be expected because he can't practice today because that is where he's at in the protocol. He needs to practice in a limited capacity tomorrow, Thursday, in order for him to play. They're not likely to allow him to practice on Saturday, which means he needs to do a partial practice Thursday and then do a full practice on Friday with pads and no new symptoms before he's cleared to play on Sunday. If that does not happen, he is going to be out week 4, and they have a bye in week 5. So transitioning over to A.J. Brown, just because we're here, he also did not practice today. Now, that's not what I wanted to see. If he practices in a limited capacity today, they may still hold him out. I haven't made a decision on this one yet, but we should know pretty much by tomorrow. If he's a do not practice, he's done. He's not playing. If he's a limited practice, then it just became interesting. Remember, they used to be a very aggressive medical staff. They would bring guys back a week before their bye week, and I'm like, what? But maybe they've changed their tune. Maybe this hamstring strain's a little bit worse than we thought for A.J. Brown. So if both A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are out, Dallas Goedert's going to smash again. We're going to see several of the other younger players get some more love. The kid they traded for from Washington, and then Saquon's going to continue to eat. Marvin Harrison Jr. popped up with a quad injury today. This is likely a quad bruise, not a quad strain. Quad strain, he would probably not be limited practicing 2 days, 2.5 days after the injury. Quad bruises, you can. Not overly concerned. I expect him to play. Fantastic matchup. Could absolutely eat in this matchup and pull a Ja'Marr Chase from the other day in a similar spot. Amari Cooper landed really hard on his hip. He wasn't on the injury report. It's just more painful. This is called a hip pointer. He'll be fine. He bounced back really strong despite Deshaun Watson looking awful still. Tank Dell is banged up. He has multiple injuries. He's got a rib injury. He's got a wrist and hand injury. He hasn't been getting a lot of volume. Stephon Diggs definitely eaten into his plate. And we saw Nico Collins continue to smash. So right now he's looking like the odd man out, and now he's injured. So he did not practice today. I think there's a chance he misses this game. Nonetheless, it's going to be very hard to trust him, and I would probably err on the side of caution and consider, sitting him this week. Both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin popped up today with injuries. Neither are concerning, in my opinion. Evans is a knee, and you will have to chop off his leg before you're going to get him not to play. Just who he is and how he's always been. And then Chris Godwin has been dealing with a neck injury off and on for probably 2 months now. And my suspicion is he just tweaked it, but he'll be fine. He's been incredible in that slot role. Adam Thielen went on IR and does not require surgery, but has a pretty significant grade 2 hamstring strain, which does not heal as quickly at 34 as it does at 24. That's going to give even more volume, surprise, to Deontay Johnson, as well as probably Xavier Legette. We'll see some Tommy Tremble. We'll see some, Chuba Hubbard. Miles Sanders will get a little bit of love. And then Jonathan Brooks should be back in the next week or two, which could be potential. He's not eligible this week. But I'm ready to see this kid because he looks legit. So it'll be interesting to see. Justin Jefferson jammed his pinky in last week's game. He's not on the report, no concerns, but he did definitely injured it. I watched it live. Britton Covey, the backup kid for Philly, had a significant shoulder injury. They put him on IR, so not really important, but the more depth. Darius Slayton with a thumb injury. Remember, they're supposed to play tomorrow night, so I don't know if they're going to play. Probably will, but not overly someone to address or to target. Jayden Reed popped up with his calf injury, which he's been dealing with for several weeks now, but now a quad injury, probably a bruise similar to Marvin Harrison, but still something to monitor. I think they get back Jordan Love this week, so that would be great. And Jayden Reed is looking like Deebo Samuel 2.0. If you can buy low for him, I don't think you can, but if you can, this would be a guy that I would try to buy low for. I underestimated him, and I was wrong, unfortunately. T. Higgins, as I mentioned earlier, looked pretty good. No worries about the hamstring. Should be good to go. Cooper Kupp not in the cast anymore, which is potentially good news, but he's not playing this week. I would be astonished if he plays next week. They have a bye the following week, so I think there's a decent chance he comes back after the bye, but even then, I still have some concerns. Puka Nacua, on the other hand, is also doing better, but he's probably going to be closer to week 8 with his knee sprain with his PCL. Deebo Samuel with his calf did not practice today, which is not a good sign. I do not think he plays this week. Juwan Jennings gets another ridiculous matchup. Christian Gonzalez is probably going to match up against Brandon Ayuk, and he'll bother him enough to annoy him. But Christian Gonzalez is also dealing with a shoulder injury, which hopefully it's not what he dealt with last year that ended his season. Michael Pittman just does not look good right now. Anthony Richardson, his accuracy is friggin' awful. Josh Downs got really played up this week, so be very careful with Michael Pittman. And realistically, if you have to play him, you have to play him. But he had that back and calf injury last week. I don't know how much it was affecting him, but I just have concerns. Joshua Palmer has the potential to return this week with elbow and calf injuries after missing last week, but he's kind of the odd man out here. QJ is going to get the middle of the kind of midfield, and then we will see McConkey running those short crossing routes. Both should get the volume, and I don't really expect Palmer to do a whole lot. Rashid Shaheed last week had a hip, dropped several beautiful passes, but not overly concerning. Greg Dortch with a hammy, but he should be better. We're looking at potentially getting Jordan Addison back this week. Remember, he has that right lateral moderate sprain, and then he has that left high ankle that he had about 6 weeks ago. So, and then they'll probably get Hawkinson back in 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is realistic. Maybe next week, but I think 2 weeks. Keenan Allen practiced partially today, which is great news. I think he returns this week. I think it's going to throw a monkey wrench in DJ Moore and in Rome Odunze. Do not sleep on Keenan Allen. I'm telling you that he still has the underlying metrics to be a stud. I don't care if he's 32. He has the potential to be a zone monster, and as Caleb looks better, Keenan Allen is going to look better. And then Roman Wilson's been a healthy scratch, and we don't know about Malik Washington. Finishing up strong with tight ends, Trey McBride in the concussion protocol as expected. We will know more tomorrow. If he practices in a limited capacity tomorrow, he has a potential to play. If not, he is out this week. which is potentially concerning, which would boost up Elijah Higgins. Interesting. I'd probably start Higgins over Mark Andrews, which is a really funny question, but unfortunately the harsh reality we're living in right now. Sam LaPorta with a lateral ankle sprain, not overly concerning, but he just hasn't looked really good, but I think he plays this week. Tucker Kraft with a shoulder injury, probably a re-injury. I haven't seen an update. Luke Musgrave dealing with a quad injury. This is probably a quad bruise as opposed to a strain. Again, with Kraft banged up and then potentially getting back Love, it could be a nice combo. George Kittle could potentially return this week. He did practice today in a limited capacity, but Evan Engram did not, which is not looking good for him. Taysom Hill will be back this week with a bruised lung, and if they do not have Kamara, we don't know yet, then that would be a definitely someone that you might want to consider. Jake Ferguson looked really good last week. He's a top 3 tight end for me going forward. I think he has a fantastic night tomorrow night. David Njoku not ready to return from his high ankle. Could miss this week and maybe come back next week. Fant has been dealing with that toe injury, but not overly concerning. Thank you for tuning into this one. If you haven't checked out the quarterbacks, running backs version, do me a favor and check that one out next. Trying to keep you guys updated as much as I can. Do me a favor, smash a thumbs up, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, wherever you find your content. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you later in the week and on Sunday night for my wrap-up. Take care.